Have you ever wondered? I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who'd even think about stepping outside the lines. But the truth is, years of being invisible in your own home does something to you. My husband and I have been married for over 28 years, and while we still share the same roof, that's about all we share. Conversations are mechanical. We eat at the same table, but live in separate worlds. The intimacy faded years ago, and now even casual touches feel awkward. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share with you an important truth that every man needs to understand in order to build respect from women. Immediately during my research on female psychology and the factors that drive attraction, I came across a saying that made me rethink everything. Welcome to my channel. I don't blame him entirely. He's not cruel, just distant like a man who checked out a while ago but didn't have the courage or interest to say goodbye. I used to be someone else before marriage, before raising children, before responsibility turned my days into checklists and routines. I was flirtatious, light-hearted, someone who got noticed. That version of me feels like a photograph. Still smiling, but long gone last week, my grandson called and asked if his friend could crash at my place for a few days while he sorted out housing issues. I remembered. The kid vaguely, he came by once or twice, always polite. I said yes, mostly out of habit. I didn't expect much, but when he arrived, taller, leaner, a little older than I remembered, he carried a quiet confidence and maturity that immediately softened the edges of the awkward situation. He wasn't just helpful, he was thoughtful. He offered to cook, cleaned up after himself without being asked, and seemed genuinely interested in my stories. Even the ones I didn't realize I was telling, he'd smile and say things like, "That's cool, you must have been fun back then." And I'd feel this unexpected spark in my chest, like I was being seen again, not as someone's wife or grandmother, but as a person. On the second night, I rubbed my lower back and sighed while drying dishes. "Back pain again?" he asked casually. I nodded and muttered something about getting older and missing my massage appointments. He offered completely innocent, like it was no big deal. "I do this for my friends all the time. I'm in school for sports therapy. Want me to try?" I hesitated. It wasn't something I'd normally accept, but it had been so long since anyone touched me with care. I agreed cautiously. He pulled up a chair, told me to sit, and started with my shoulders. His hands were firm, methodical, and shockingly good. Within minutes, the tension I didn't even know I was holding started to release. I closed my eyes and let it happen. He didn't say much, just focused. It wasn't flirtatious, at least not then, but it was intimate. I hadn't felt another person's hands on me in months, maybe years. Something about the silence, the closeness. It caught me off guard afterward. I thanked him maybe too warmly. He smiled and said, "Any time before heading to the guest room." I sat there alone in the quiet kitchen, hands folded in my lap, unsure whether I felt more relaxed or rattled the next morning. I avoided eye contact with him longer than I meant to. I told myself it was nothing, just a simple gesture, a massage, nothing to dwell on, but the way I felt afterward lingered longer than any muscle relief I kept. Remembering the warmth of his hands, the calmness of his voice, the way he didn't hesitate. My husband hadn't touched me like that in years, not even a shoulder squeeze, not even when I was in pain. I tried to bury it, kept myself busy with chores, stayed in my room longer, but in small moments, I caught him looking at me, not inappropriately, just aware present. I wasn't used to being noticed in my own home that evening. I made us both tea without thinking. He took it from my hands and said, "You always do little things for people, don't you?" I didn't respond, but my chest tightened. We talked a bit more that night. He asked questions no one had bothered to ask me in years, what I used to do for fun, where I grew up, what music I liked. I heard myself laugh at one point and caught a glimpse of my reflection in the microwave. I looked like someone else for a second, lighter awake. I didn't plan to bring up the massage, but I made some joke about needing another one. He raised an eyebrow. I mean, if it helped, he said like it was a completely logical follow-up. I nodded, already half turning in my seat, before I realised what I was doing this time. He was more confident with his touch. He moved slowly, deliberately. My skin felt too thin, too aware of every motion. I tried to keep my breathing steady, but my chest betrayed me. I could feel it. My body responding, my mind spinning. He didn't speak. Neither did I. I closed my eyes again, not to enjoy it, but to manage it. I wasn't supposed to feel this. This wasn't about age or appearance or impulse. It was about absence. How long it had been since anyone treated me like I mattered. He stopped after a while and quietly said, "All good." I nodded. My voice didn't work. He lingered near me for a second longer than necessary, then left the room. I didn't move. I stared at the same spot on the wall for 10 minutes, trying to pull myself back together. It was just a massage, that's what I told myself. That's what I'd keep telling myself. But that night in bed, I didn't think about my husband. I thought about hands closeness, the soft way he said my name. Once I didn't touch myself, I didn't cry, I just laid there, heart hutting, wondering what line I'd stepped near and whether I cared. He started spending more time around me, and I stopped trying to make it seem casual. I didn't seek him out, but I didn't avoid him either. We'd talk late at night in the kitchen, voices low, not because we had to whisper, but because the quiet made things feel closer. He told me things I didn't expect, a falling out with his dad, the way he felt out of place everywhere I listened, and when I opened up in return, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. I told him how empty the house felt, even when it was full, how I used to write poetry and stopped, because no one ever read it. I admitted I felt like a ghost, most days seen only when something needed doing. He looked at me like he understood, not with pity, just recognition that, look, undid me more than anything else. He started complimenting me more directly. "You have a beautiful voice. You move like you used to dance." They weren't crude, they were precise, and they landed deeper, because I knew he meant them. I didn't deflect anymore. I let them sit. I wanted to feel them. One evening, I offered him a drink. He took it, thanked me, and his fingers brushed mine. The contact was brief, but I felt it all the way to my spine. My breathing changed, and he noticed. He didn't say anything, just looked at me like he was waiting for me to speak first. I didn't. Another massage happened. I didn't ask. He offered this time. I didn't pretend, it was just for my back. There was more silence, more stillness. He started at my shoulders and worked lower, slower, careful but aware. My eyes were closed, but I wasn't numb. I could feel everything. My pulse was uneven, my thoughts tangled. His hands paused at my waist. They didn't go lower. He waited. I didn't stop him. He didn't move forward that moment, held everything. Desire, restraint, tension so sharp, it was almost painful. He let go and stepped back. No words. I turned to look at him and he looked torn. Not confused, not ashamed, just waiting for me to decide what this was. I couldn't. My body was screaming yes, but my life was built on no. I wanted him, not just for his hands or his youth, but because for the first time in years, I felt wanted, not tolerated, not overlooked. "Wanted," he said quietly. "I don't want to cross a line unless you want me to." I couldn't speak. I just shook my head slowly, but not firmly. I think that said everything. He nodded, stepped away, and left me alone in the living room. I sat there for a long time after trying to convince myself that nothing had happened, but something had. We didn't kiss, we didn't touch, beyond what was allowed, but I had betrayed my husband all the same, not with my body, but with everything else. He packed his things 2 mornings later. I didn't ask him to leave, and he didn't say why he suddenly had a place lined up. Maybe he sensed that we were at the edge of something we couldn't take back. He hugged me goodbye, brief but firm, and for a split second, his hand pressed into the small of my back like he was memorizing it. "Thank you," he said, and I couldn't bring myself to say anything in return. I just watched him go heart racing like I'd run a marathon without moving an inch. My husband came home from a weekend golf trip that same afternoon. He didn't notice anything different. He told me a story about one of the guys missing a putt and asked what I made for dinner. I nodded, smiled, served the food and listened. My body sat across from him while my mind replayed the touch, the tension, the quiet restraint that had taken up residence in my chest. I didn't confess there wasn't technically anything to confess, no affair, no kiss, no stolen night, but I was changed. My husband kissed me on the forehead before bed, the way he always did, and it felt foreign, not comforting, not familiar, just routine. I lay beside him, eyes wide open, feeling like a stranger in my own skin. Over the next few days, I went through the motions, cleaned the house, paid bills, watered plants, but underneath it all, something had shifted. I started wearing earrings again, painted my nails, I played music in the kitchen, not because someone else might hear it, but because I wanted to. It wasn't about the boy. It was about how he had reminded me. I was still a woman. I didn't chase him. I didn't reach out. That would have made everything worse. But sometimes, in the middle of folding laundry or drinking coffee, I'd remember his voice, the way he looked at me like I was visible. Those memories weren't fantasies, they were proof. Please subscribe. Channel.